Many in McNairy County have long harbored suspicions about the circumstances of Buford's death. Some believed it was no accident at all, that he was murdered. Yet, as Mike has pointed out, one question remains. Why was Buford the only law enforcement officer in danger when every neighboring county faced nearly identical problems within their own jurisdictions? If the Dixie Mafia truly operated in McNairy County, would they not also have sought control in these surrounding areas? What verifiable evidence exists to prove their presence in McNairy County? Beyond the involvement of Towhead White, who else from the Dixie Mafia was ever shown to be active in the region? When you take a step back, breathe, and analyze these questions with clear-eyed honesty, where does common sense lead? Does it suggest that Buford was genuinely living under a constant threat of death? Or does it begin to sound as though he had an overactive imagination, or perhaps that he was carefully shaping a legend for himself, one that his friends and admirers were eager to believe? Roger Horton, a close personal friend of Buford, once speculated during a CBS News interview that the tie rods on Buford's car had been tampered with. Yet what did he later tell Tennessee Highway Patrol investigators when pressed for details? With those questions in mind, let us turn now to the man who has spent years studying every corner of Buford's story, the keeper of knowledge on all things Buford Pusser, Mike.
Hey, I'd like to give a big shout out to Backstage Brian McCall for that wonderful intro, and say good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. So we're here to discuss a lot of things about Buford's death, as a lot of people felt like that he was murdered, but yet nobody can seem to pinpoint who did it. They say it might have been the state line mob, but who was left? I mean, W.O. Hathcock closed up shop as far as what he was doing before Buford was even elected. Jack Hathcock was killed in 1964, early part, well before that Buford became sheriff. Then Towhead White was sent to prison by Tishomingo Sheriff James Bishop for setting up a moonshine still in his county. And then you have Louise Hathcock, who Buford shot and killed in a very questionable shootout, if you want to call it that. So we can pretty much eliminate the state line mob because actually that was about it. Then the Dixie Mafia. Well, like Brian said, you had all these surrounding counties that had very similar, if not identical, problems. You look at what was going on in Alcorn County, right to the south of McNairy County and Selmer. They had several different places in that location, but yet there wasn't any signs that the Dixie Mafia was actually there. That was, just mostly local people. So who would have murdered Buford? You have to ask that question. Why was he the only person under threat? Well, I think he crafted a legend for himself. I don't think he ever believed that it would go as far as it did in making a movie franchise, but we have that. But I do think a lot of the local people there, his friends, bought into everything that he said. They believed that he was always under the threat of death, but yet there's no indication. I mean, you look at the various attacks on him, there weren't any witnesses. The gunplay with Louise, where he shot her, of course, you have to remember he shot her in the back twice before he shot her in the head while she lay on the floor. And you had a couple of ear witnesses that heard the shots and said that they heard Buford's gunfire before they ever heard Louise's little 38 fire. And of course, that 41 Magnum he had made a lot louder sound than that little 38 did. So it was a very distinguishable sound difference between the two. And then you also have to consider that Jim Moffitt quit for a while, saying, if anything ever happens to me, you need to look no further than Buford Pusser. So you have to wonder what he heard and knew that made him say that. But again, You eliminate the state line mob. Hoot the Dixie Mafia was actually there. There wasn't. I mean, Towhead White was it. And when he went to prison, everything stopped. Who was left from any of these organizations that Buford dreamed of? He also talked about the Detroit mob. Where's any indication that they were ever there? I'm not sure what he was referring to when he said Detroit mob. I know a lot of moonshine from McNairy County made it up that way in the earlier days, but, it's a different time, a different set of circumstances. Prohibition had ended. So alcohol was flowing free at that point. Who is it that would have killed Buford? Now, Roger Horton, you see it in that CBS News interview on the evening news, where he said, well, he thought that there would have been sabotage to the tie rods of Buford's Corvette. But what did he tell investigators when he wasn't on camera? I posted his statement. You can see it on my Facebook page, Buford Pusser, The Other Story. And it clearly states that he was not a mechanic. He said that he had no experience as such, that it was just his personal feeling, and that he felt like if someone had murdered Buford, he didn't want him to get away with it. But yet, a lot of people looked at his statement on the evening news, and that just fueled more speculation that people were out to get Buford. I would encourage you to go over there to the Facebook page and take a look at that, where you can take as much time as you want to read it. All you have to do is, it's in the feed right now, but if you don't see it on there, all you have to do is go to the photo section and do a little search for it. It's there. And you can read it to your heart's content, along with some other statements that were made by people at the county fair that night that indicated that, he was intoxicated, had been drinking. I want you to think about all these things and ask yourself, as I have, who would have the need to kill Buford, especially so many years after he left law enforcement? Pretty simple question. Like Brian said, breathe, just take a step back, analyze the information, and see what common sense tells you, because there is no proof that anyone did it other than Buford. I think we know now that he died as a result of drinking and driving, too much car, too big of an engine, too much speed, and that ended it all right after he had signed a contract for $2 million to play himself in the sequel to Walking Tall. The sad part of it is, when you break that down in today's dollars, that would have been like him taking the role today, and that contract would have been worth almost $14 million. A lot of money he probably never thought that legend would produce. But anyway, I'm going to just break it off there. It's Saturday. I've got lots of things to do again. It is a weekend, even though for me, being retired, every day is a Saturday. But for some reason, I hold weekends kind of special. I like to spend them with my young bride, Miss Connie. So, folks, until next time, just remember, as I always say, truth has no agenda. And thanks for watching.